There's a law written into the fabric of living things, older than language, older than thought, older than the first creature that ever looked up at the stars and wondered. The law is simple. The law is this: everything that can be broken breaks. Every species that has ever reached for the stars has carried this law inside them like a second heartbeat. The Keth, who bleed silver and feel pain as a high-pitched ringing behind the eyes. The Vor, whose hollow bones shatter like glass under enough pressure. The Syndicate's dozen-member races, each one fragile in their own specific and exploitable way. The universe is full of life, and all of that life understands, in the marrow of whatever passes for marrow, that damage is permanent. That what is lost stays lost. That the body, for all its complexity, is a thing that the world is always in the process of winning against. The universe, it turns out, forgot to tell the humans. The Syndicate researchers who first documented human cellular regeneration called it the most significant biological discovery in 3 centuries. They were not wrong. They were simply wrong about what it meant. They found it by accident, the way most terrible things are found, with clean hands and good intentions, and a complete failure to ask the right questions. A xenobiologist named Sarah Voss had been cataloging minor physiological differences between human volunteers and Keth baseline when she noticed that a laceration she had documented on a subject's forearm the previous morning had reduced in size by nearly 40% overnight. She assumed measurement error. She remeasured. She documented the result with the careful neutrality of a scientist who suspects she is looking at something important and does not yet want to be right. 6 weeks later, Vet Station had 17 human subjects and a research team of 30, and the word volunteer had quietly stopped appearing in the documentation. The humans in those laboratories knew what was being done to them. They were not sedated. Sedation interfered with the regenerative process, which the researchers needed to observe. They were restrained and conscious, and they experienced every procedure with a clarity that the clinical language of the research reports worked very hard not to describe. What the reports recorded instead were outcomes: healing rates, tissue regeneration speeds, the threshold of damage beyond which even human biology could not fully compensate. They found a threshold. It was much higher than anyone expected. What the reports did not record, what no clinical language has ever been adequate to capture, was the expression on the face of a human named Sergeant Yael Torres on the 41st day of her captivity, where a researcher leaned over her and said, in the careful tone of someone delivering a professional assessment, that the results so far have been extremely promising. Sergeant Torres did not say anything. She looked at the researcher with dark, still eyes, and she filed the face away in a part of her mind that had nothing to do with pain or fear or the exhaustion of 6 weeks of procedures. She filed it in the part that had kept score since she was old enough to understand that the universe was not always fair, and that fairness, when it did not come on its own, sometimes had to be collected. She would heal. She always healed. She had nothing but time. Sir Captain Omdurus of the 3rd Purification Fleet does not know any of this when his unit enters the settlement of Harrow's Gate on the 14th day of the reclamation campaign. He knows only what command is told him. Light resistance, low-value target, estimated clearance time 4 hours. He's a good soldier, 12 years of service, a steady hand and a steadier mind, the kind of officer his subordinates trust because he has never once asked them to do something he would not do himself. He moves at the front of his column, weapon up, eyes moving the way they have moved in 100 engagements on a dozen worlds. He shoots the first human 20 minutes in. It is a clean shot, center mass, and the human, a broad-shouldered figure in gray, who had broken cover to drag a wounded companion behind a barrier of broken stone, goes down hard. Omdarus marks the position, swings his eyes to the next threat, and advances. He does not think about the human he shot. This is not callousness. It is discipline. A soldier who lingers on what is already done dies on what is still coming. 23 minutes later, the human he shot stands back up. Omdarus sees it in his peripheral vision and stops walking. He turns. He looks. His mind offers him 2 explanations: misidentification, a different human of similar appearance, and he examines both of them with the honest rigor of a soldier who knows that comfortable lies get people killed. He discards both explanations. He files the information in the same careful, worried silence with which Sarah once filed her measurement results. And he keeps advancing, and he does not yet understand what he has just seen the beginning of. 300 kilometers away, in a repurposed cargo bay that serves as the staging point for the 14th Human Rapid Response, Sergeant Yoel Torres is doing what she has done every morning since her extraction from Veth Station. She's checking her soldiers, not their equipment, though she checks that too, with the methodical attention of someone who learned early that small oversights become large funerals. She is checking the soldiers themselves, looking at their faces, asking questions that sound casual and are not. How'd you sleep? How is the shoulder? How are you holding? 11 of the 20 soldiers in her unit were on Veth Station with her. The other 9 came after, volunteers, every one of them, who read the transmission that someone inside the syndicate had the conscience to send, and then walked into a recruitment point and said, with varying degrees of quietness and fury, "Where do I go?" Torres understands both kinds. The ones who were there carry something specific, a knowledge of exactly what was done, and exactly how long it took to heal, and exactly what it sounded like when the researchers murmured to each other in the careful language of people documenting a process. The ones who were not there carry something different, something hotter and less complicated, a rage that has not yet been tempered by the strange intimacy of having survived the thing you're angry about. She needs both kinds. She knows how to use both kinds. What she does not tell her soldiers, what she has not told anyone, because it is not the kind of thing that belongs in a briefing, is what keeps her moving, not the anger. Anger is fuel, but it burns fast and leaves ash. What keeps Torres moving is something quieter and more permanent, something that's settled into her bones somewhere around week 3 of her captivity and has not left. It is the simple, absolute certainty that she will not stop until this is finished. Not because she cannot be stopped. She can be hurt. She has been hurt. She will be hurt again before this is over. But between the hurting and the stopping, there is a space, and in that space lives a decision she made so long ago and so completely that it no longer feels like a decision. It feels like gravity. It feels like breathing. It feels like something that was always going to be true. They meet at a place called the Corridor of Nails, which is what the humans name it afterward, because humans name things, and the names they choose say more about them than they intend. The Keth come with numbers. 4,000 soldiers, 9 armor platforms, air support on call. They come with doctrine and discipline and the absolute confidence of a military that has ended 7 wars in the past century without losing one. They come expecting, as they always expect, that the math will be enough. The humans come with something the math cannot measure. It begins the way battles always begin, with noise and chaos and the terrible compression of time that turns hours into moments and moments into everything. The Keth advance in formation, precise and coordinated, their movements the product of 10,000 hours of training. They are impressive. They are powerful. Under any other circumstances, against any other enemy, they would be unstoppable. The humans hit them from 3 sides simultaneously. Omdaris is in the center of the line when it happens, and what he feels first is not fear, but confusion, the disorientation of a mind trained on predictable engagements suddenly inside something that follows none of the patterns it knows. The humans do not fight like a force that is outnumbered. They fight like a force that has not yet been told it should be worried, and in the gap between what the numbers say should be happening and what is actually happening, Keth soldiers begin to die. And the humans take wounds. They take wounds the way weather takes damage, absorbing it, continuing through it, utterly indifferent to the logic that says a thing hit hard enough should stop. Omdaris watches a human soldier take a shot to the thigh that drops them for 30 seconds, and in those 30 seconds, one of their companions pulls them behind cover and does something fast and practiced with a piece of equipment, and then the human is up again, limping, continuing. He watches another take a hit to the shoulder that spins them sideways, and they catch themselves on the wall and push off it and keep moving. He watches Torres. He does not know her name. He knows only what his eyes tell him. that this one moves differently than the others, with the specific economy of someone who has been doing this a very long time and has stopped wasting anything on motion that does not matter. He watches her take a shot that should end her, watches her go to one knee in the rubble, watches her press a hand to her side and look down at it with an expression he cannot read from this distance. He thinks now. He thinks, stay down. Torres looks at the wound the way a carpenter looks at a split board, assessing, calculating, deciding what can be done and how long it will take. The pain is enormous. She has a long history with enormous pain, and she knows its geography intimately, knows which parts of it require attention and which parts can be filed for later. She presses her hand harder against her side. She breathes 3 times, slow and deliberate, the way she was taught in a laboratory on Veth Station by nothing except necessity. She stands up. Across the rubble, Daris makes a sound that has no translation in any language because no language was built to describe exactly this feeling. The feeling of watching the rules of the universe be quietly repealed. By the 3rd day of the corridor engagement, Daris has stopped filing tactical reports and started writing something else. He does not have a name for what he is writing. It is not a letter. It is not a confession. It is a man trying to put language around something that keeps slipping out of the shape language makes. He writes, "They do not fight like they are trying to win. They fight like they have already won and are simply waiting for us to understand it." He writes, "We keep shooting the same ones. I know we do. I have started recognizing them the way you recognize something that frightens you. With too much attention, with the hyperclarity of a mind that understands it is seeing something important and cannot stop seeing it. There is one with a scar on their chin who I have hit twice. There is one who moves with a slight drag of the left foot who we have hit so many times that my soldiers have stopped reporting it." He writes, "What do you do with an enemy that keeps your damage like a receipt?" 3 kilometers away, in the human staging area, Torres is reading the same transmission she has read every night since it arrived. The full record from Veth Station. Every name, every procedure, every careful clinical note about promising results and significant findings and the most elegant biological anomaly ever recorded. She does not read it to stay angry. She is past the point where anger requires maintenance. She reads it because the names are in it. Her soldiers' names, the ones who were there, documented in the detached language of a process they were not considered participants in, but subjects of. She reads their names to remember that this is not abstract, that every armored platform they destroy, and every position they take, and every Keth soldier who looks into the face of a human who will not stay down, and finally understands what they have made. All of it has a price, and the price is names, and she intends to collect. The battle that ends the corridor campaign lasts 11 hours. The Keth bring everything they have left. They come in the early dark before the moons rise, with their remaining platforms and their full complement in a desperation that has replaced the confidence of day, one so completely it is hard to believe they are the same force. They've been trying for 3 days to solve a problem that is not a tactical problem. They've been throwing military solutions at something that is not a military question. The question is this: what do you do with a species that you have hurt as badly as you possibly can, that is healed, that remembers, and that is standing in front of you? The Keth do not have an answer. The humans are the answer. Torres moves through the final push in a state that is beyond adrenaline, beyond exhaustion, beyond the ordinary limits of what a body is supposed to be able to do. Her side is a sustained roar of pain that she has long since stopped negotiating with. There is blood on her hands that is not all hers. Around her, her soldiers move with the same terrible efficiency, the same silence that the Keth have learned to dread more than any battle cry. Because screaming soldiers are soldiers releasing something, and these humans are not releasing anything. They are keeping it. They're using it. Every wound taken on Veth Station and every wound taken in this corridor is fuel for something that does not run out. Daris finds himself, in the 9th hour of the battle, standing 20 meters from Torres without either of them having planned it. The chaos of the engagement has compressed and shifted until it is just the 2 of them in a pocket of terrible stillness, rubble on all sides, the sounds of the larger battle muffled and distant. He has seen her before. He recognizes the way she moves. He has shot in her direction more times than he can count, and he knows, with a certainty that has nothing to do with hope, that at least some of those shots connected. She is still here. They look at each other across the rubble for a moment that stretches. Omdaris is a soldier, and he knows what to do next. He has always known what to do next. It is the thing he is best at, the reliable compass of training and doctrine that has never failed him. It fails him now, because Torres looks at him, not with hatred, not with triumph, not with any of the emotions that the face of an enemy is supposed to carry, but with a recognition. She sees him the way he has seen her, with the sharp attention of someone who has been tracking a specific presence through days of chaos. She sees him, and she knows what he is, the one who has been adapting, thinking, trying harder than the others, the one who figured out something was wrong before the others admitted it, the one who understood and kept fighting anyway. She raises her weapon. He raises his. For one suspended second, they are the whole war, compressed into 20 meters of rubble and the distance between two people who have been trying to end each other for 3 days. Then a building collapses to their left, and the moment shatters, and they are both moving, and the battle swallows them again. The corridor of nails falls to the humans on the 4th day. The Keth withdraw. What is left of them, which is not much. Omdaris survives. He carries from the engagement the specific wound of a soldier who has fought hard and lost not to a superior force, but to a superior fact. The fact that there are things in the universe that will not stop, and that he has spent his career in the service of something that made one of those things angry. Torres survives. This surprises no one who knows her, and nothing that is in her cells. She stands in the rubble of the corridor on the morning of the 5th day, while her soldiers secure the position and count the cost, and she does the same thing she does every morning. She checks her soldiers. She looks at their faces. She asks how they're holding. Most of them are wounded. All of them are healing. The war is not over. They all know the war is not over. There are more corridors, more campaigns, more engagements between here and the syndicate seat of power and the specific laboratory on Veth Station where everything began. Torres knows the shape of what is still ahead, and does not pretend it will be easy or clean or without cost. She is not looking at what is ahead. She is looking at what is here. Her soldiers in the morning light, battered and standing, each one of them carrying in their body and their history the same absolute refusal that she carries. The universe has a law. Everything that can be broken breaks. The humans have a law too. Theirs is older, written deeper, stitched into the double helix of what they are, and what they have survived, and what they have chosen, every single one of them, to keep choosing. The law is this. We are not done yet. The syndicate, across the stars, is beginning to understand what that means. It is too late to unlearn it.